press record here. Welcome back to Divine Earth School. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I'm hoping that this works. I don't know. If you're joining me live, feel free to say hi in the chat and let me know if you can hear me. I'm on the same old computer, different location right now. But I'm super excited to talk about this topic because it's all about relationships today, baby. So today we're going to be talking about, give me a second. What is going on? Video border. Okay, there we go. So today we're going to be talking all about shadow work and relationships and how to improve your connections. I'm primarily going to be talking about how to improve sort of love relationships and stuff like that, but this applies to all relationships across the board, whether platonic, family, children, all that good stuff. So today let's dive into this topic, right? So first off, I want to go back into just a brief overview. If you're joining me for the first time, we've been doing a shadow work series over the last couple of weeks, and today continues that series for Soul Nugget Sunday. So let's dive into what exactly shadow work is. Simply put, it's the process of uncovering and integrating the hidden aspects of ourselves that we often deny or ignore. These shadow aspects can include our fears, insecurities, and unresolved traumas. They influence our thoughts, our behaviors, and relationships, often in ways we're not even aware of. So why is shadow work even important for personal growth and for relationships? It's really because it's about facing these hidden aspects of ourselves so that we can allow ourselves to heal, grow, and become more authentic in our day-to-day lives and in how we interact with others, right? So by shining a light on our shadow versus just keeping it hidden away, we can transform our pain into power, empower ourselves and our fears into strengths, right? This not only improves our relationships with each other and ourselves, but also enhances our connection with others in a deeper and more fulfilling way. So in today's video, I'm really going to be diving into how shadow work can improve your relationships, help you identify, address projections and triggers when it comes to relationships, and ultimately build healthier, more authentic connections. So let's go ahead and dive into this journey together and uncover the hidden parts of ourselves that are waiting to be healed and embraced, okay? So let's move on. Okay. So let's talk about the impact of shadow work on personal relationships. Have you ever found yourself reacting strongly to someone else's behavior only to realize later that it was more about you than them? If so, you're really not alone, because today I really want to dive into why that happens and how shadow work can actually help you, right? If you're joining me live, let me know you can hear me in the chat. Okay. So by bringing these different aspects of ourselves, these shadow aspects of ourselves into the light, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, which is really crucial for personal development and just how we interact with each other, humans, on a day-to-day basis. It really allows us to see the full picture of who we are, as well as not just the parts we like to show the world, but also to really integrate these hidden aspects into ourselves so that we can start living for a more embodied and holistic place of well-being, right? So unresolved shadow aspects can really heavily influence our relationships. For example, if we have unhealed traumas, right? Something's missing here. we might project these unresolved issues onto our partners, our friends, or colleagues. And this can really lead to misunderstandings and conflicts and more emotional pain than is necessary. So, psychological projection, let's talk about what that actually is, and I'll dive deep more into it down the line. But psychological projection is when we attribute our own unwanted feelings or thoughts to someone else. For instance, if we're insecure about something, we might accuse others of being insecure or critical, even when they're not, right? This often creates a cycle of blame and defensiveness that can really damage relationships in the long term. So projection, when we're projecting our thoughts or our emotions or our behaviors onto other people, a lot of times that has to do with us not looking at the different shadow aspects of ourselves because it might be too painful, or we don't really have the tool set or the coping mechanisms in which to handle our shadow, right? And so let's talk about the benefits of shadow work in relationships. But before we dive into that, let me know if you can hear me in the chat, if you're joining me live. I don't know if this is working because for some reason I'm trying to listen to it on my phone to see if you can hear this. There's a huge lag. And I think because the internet that I'm on is really... Anyways, got some stuff going on at home that needs to be taken care of, and eventually I'll be back at home, but right now working with what I got. Okay. So one of the things I thought about as I was putting together these slides is there's so much power in self-reflection and really uncovering and doing this deep inner healing work. And a lot of this has to do with better communication, having better communication. When you are more aware of yourself at a deeper level, when you're more aware of your own inner workings, your own traumas, your own unhealed aspects of yourself, you're able to not only do the healing work, but then improve your relationships as a result, right? And so I was thinking of past relationships. One of the things that I've always kind of been really good at is communication in my own life and in my own relationships. And I attribute that a lot to me having or being put in sort of the psychologist role in my family since I was young. And so I really learned the art of communication ever since I was a little girl, from watching my parents grow up and seeing how they really struggle with that aspect of their relationship, and not only lack of communication, but dealing with their own shadow aspects. And so I learned a lot as a young child, growing up in terms of embodying and reintegrating the different hidden aspects of myself and how to communicate that and my own fears and stuff like that, just by watching my parents, while growing up and stuff like that, and dealing with various types of people. And then also just kind of doing my own sort of work and understanding my sort of makeup. Like I have Gemini a lot in my chart, and so that's like the art of communication, and so I kind of have the gift of communication. And so it's been one of those things that I've been able to carry over into a lot of relationships in general. One of the things about this, though, is that a lot of times when people don't heal their shadows, right, or they don't look at their shadows, it can manifest in sort of immature relationships, or people not being able or willing to have deeper conversations or be willing to hold space for one another because they haven't healed those hidden aspects of themselves alone, right? And so when you haven't healed these different hidden aspects of yourself, it can be very triggering and very challenging to experience healing, or even feeling seen, heard, or loved, because these different aspects of ourselves haven't been looked at. So let's dive into the benefits of shadow work in relationships. Like I was talking about, the number one is better communication. So one of the key benefits of shadow work is improved communication. So when we understand our own triggers and projections, we can communicate more openly and honestly with others, right? This leads to clearer and more empathetic conversations. It also leads to deeper understanding. So shadow work fosters a deeper understanding of both ourselves and our partners, right? So by acknowledging and accepting our own shadows, we become more compassionate and less judgmental towards others, because we recognize that we all got crap. Like we all got the shadow aspect of ourselves. So it's no longer this hidden aspect of yourself where you feel guilty, right? And then another benefit is reduced conflict. So with greater self-awareness and understanding, conflicts are less likely to escalate, right? Because you have that healthy communication inbuilt into your relationship. And we become better at recognizing when we're projecting and can address issues more calmly and effectively, right? Together versus alone, trying to figure stuff out and projecting our own stuff onto each other, right? And then the last huge benefit is just authentic connections, right? Ultimately, shadow work helps us build more authentic connections by embracing all parts of ourselves. And so when we allow others to do the same, we create relationships based on genuine acceptance and mutual respect, and just a deeper level of unconditional love, because we're no longer moving from this, we're no longer operating from our shadow. You know, one of the things about doing the shadow work is, yeah, I'm sorry about that, Miss Tamika. Welcome back. Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with just where I'm set up. The internet connection where I'm at right now is just really choppy, so it keeps going in and out. So I'm going to go ahead and do this video. I'm recording it, and so what I'll do if it's too choppy from the live is I'll just take the recorded version and then upload that version if that's if that ends up working out better. But so that's probably why it's buffering a lot. Sorry about that. I'm just in a different location than my normal home and internet, because some stuff is being done to my house that needs to be done, and so I had to sort of relocate for a little bit, and so hopefully I'll be back in another couple weeks. But we're just gonna go with it, just move with the flow. Okay, so those are really just the benefits of shadow work. You know, if joining me live, if it's too choppy, feel free to come back. I'll just upload the recorded version of this. That way, you guys can have a more seamless experience of watching it. Okay, so let's talk about identifying and addressing projection and triggers in relationships, okay? So like I talked about psychological projection, it's basically a defense mechanism where an individual unconsciously denies their own attributes, their own thoughts or emotions, which they then ascribe to the outside world, usually other people, right? So this mechanism really allows individuals to avoid dealing with uncomfortable feelings or acknowledging aspects of themselves that they find unacceptable. And a lot of this has to do with just not dealing with a shadow, right? When a shadow aspect of ourselves can be very uncomfortable because we're not really taught about these aspects of ourselves, right? We're not taught about these hidden aspects of ourselves. And so a lot of times people are operating out of their shadow because they haven't done this shadow work. They haven't reintegrated into the whole beings that they truly are, right? So they're operating from these sort of fragmented aspects of themselves rather than operating as a full, whole, totally divine being that they truly are, right? So that's what like psychological projection is when you're sort of ascribing your own attributes, thoughts, or emotions or behaviors onto someone else because dealing with it feels too unacceptable or uncomfortable, right? So how does psychological projections manifest in relationships? Okay, so really psychological projections, and let me just move this out of the way. Kind of want to move me out of the way so you can see more of the screen. Hold on. Okay, cool. So in relationships, psychological projections can create really huge, significant misunderstandings, loads of conflict, and emotional distance, right? So here are some of the common ways it manifests. Number one, accusations and blame, right? So an example is tongue twister. An individual who feels insecure about their own fidelity might accuse their partner of being unfaithful despite having no evidence to support the claim, right? So this impact shows up as this creates distrust and tension in the relationship, leading to unnecessary arguments and emotional strain. You can see this a lot in healthy relationships, but this also can happen in, you see this a lot in toxic relationships rather, but you can also see this in healthy relationships if one or more individuals haven't dealt with their shadow, right? So let's say someone has been cheated on several times in the past, right? And now they're with a new partner, but they didn't really do the shadow work on dealing with their own core shadow in regards to feeling rejected or abandoned or betrayed in regards to having a cheating ex or whatever. And so what that can show up as is the person ends up, projecting, old characteristics of an ex-partner or their own selves onto their new partner because they haven't done the shadow work. So accusations and blame. Another way that this can show up is criticism and judgments, right? So an example here is someone who feels inadequate or self-critical might frequently criticize their partner's abilities, appearance, or decisions, right? So the impact of this sort of behavior is this can erode the partner's self-esteem and foster resentment, right? Making it difficult to build a supportive and loving relationship, right? So if you've ever been in a relationship, and it's funny because I can think about a lot of ways that this has showed up in my own life because I've been in a few what I would call imbalanced or toxic relationships. And I noticed that these characteristics can happen a lot in toxic relationships because a lot of times when you're in a relationship, let's say with a partner who does have a personality disorder, namely the personality disorder on the spectrum where they lack empathy and they lack accountability or the ability to take accountability for their own issues, this can really manifest. Now, if you're in a relationship with two healthy individuals where both people can take responsibility for their own emotions, doing the shadow work can really, really help reduce a lot of these sort of behaviors, right? So criticisms and judgments is the second way it can manifest. The third way it can manifest is jealousy and possessiveness, right? An example is a person who feels jealousy might project those feelings onto their partners, assuming that the partner is the one being jealous or possessive, right? So the impact in this situation would be this projection can lead to controlling behavior and restrict the partner's freedom, right? Causing friction and dissatisfaction. And this just happened with, I learned this about, a friend of mine, and they were telling me that their ex definitely went through that where they were dealing with, this sort of jealous lover or jealous partner who just didn't want them to be alone ever, right? They were always kind of trailing behind the person or, checking and asking them questions, asking them to see their phone and asking why they were talking to so-and-so and, why were they looking at all this jealousy. And that was manifesting a lot because that person hadn't really done the shadow work to heal their shadow, right? Another way that psychological projections can manifest is emotional withdrawal, right? So an example of this would be an individual who feels emotionally vulnerable might project that vulnerability onto their partner, right? So when you're feeling emotionally like inept or whatever, right? Believing that their partner is the one who is overly sensitive or needy, right? So they're not comfortable with feeling vulnerable, and so they end up projecting their lack of ability to feel vulnerable onto their partner by saying, oh, they're super needy or they're too sensitive, right? This impact can show up as result in emotional distancing between the individuals as one individual withdraws to protect themselves from perceived emotional demands, right? And the fifth way that this shows up is avoidance of responsibility, right? So an example of this is someone who struggles with their own responsibilities or failures might project those shortcomings onto their partner, right? Accusing them of being lazy or incompetent. So the impact in this situation is this can lead to constant conflict and a lack of accountability within the relationship, making it hard to resolve issues constructively. And then the sixth way, there's one more after this, is resentment and anger, right? Have you ever felt, angry or, having resentment for someone else? So an example of this would be like an individual who harbors unresolved anger or resentment from past experiences might project these feelings onto their new partner, right? Interpreting neutral or benign actions as hostile or offensive. And a lot of this can happen when you haven't done the shadow work. And the impact of this behavior is it leads to frequent arguments and a pervasive sense of tension as the partner may feel unjustly accused and attacked, right? And then the last way that this can show up is denial and positive qualities, right? An example of this is someone who struggles with self-worth might project their own feelings of inadequacy onto their partner, right? Failing to recognize or appreciate their partner's positive qualities and contributions. This might be like someone who's always nagging at you, saying, oh, you're this or you're that, saying all the bad things about you, but never recognizing the good aspects of you, right? And the impact of this is this can prevent the relationship from flourishing, right? As positive reinforcement and appreciation are really essential for maintaining a healthy dynamic, right? So, in those situations where we go through all those different ways that psychological projection can manifest, I want to let me know in the comments below if you can identify with any of these in your own relationship, whether you've experienced them yourself where you were acting out these behaviors or a partner was doing this to you, right? And that's the power of, recognizing the shadow. Because a lot of times when we are doing these things, accusation or emotionally withdrawing from someone or avoiding responsibility or carrying old resentment and anger from past relationships or past hurts or past wounds. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be from past relationships. It could be like, if let's say a woman who has a strained relationship or an active relationship with her father carries a lot of resentment for her father, right? From never being there and never, being the role model that she needed. And so, she could then, if she hasn't done the shadow work or the healing work, then bring that into every relationship that she has with her new partners, right? And so she could project, oh, well, all men are trash or they're unreliable or, you just never are there for me, that kind of energy and onto the new partner, even though the new partner is there for her, but she hasn't done the shadow work. And so she could project that on her own, shadow and childhood traumas from past relationships, or in this case, a relationship with her father, because she hasn't done this inner shadow work, right? So hopefully this makes sense. I know that it's choppy, but if you are with me live, let me know if that is resonating, if it makes sense. Okay. Okay, and then why this is so loud. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm glad that it's resonating. Let's keep it moving. So let's talk about addressing projection in relationships, right? To address projection in relationships, it's really important for you to, one, self-reflect, right? Recognize and acknowledge your own feelings and insecurities, right? So when we're talking about dealing with shadow work and when we're talking about dealing with these different aspects of our behaviors, right, is you can't really recognize if you're doing this, if you're struggling with conflict or you're struggling with feeling triggered, like we talked about in last week's shadow work series on Soul Nugget Sunday. If you're feeling triggered, the biggest thing is to start to self-reflect, right? Before you even bring it to your partner, right? When you take the time to self-reflect, it allows you to work through your own insecurities, work through your own wounds, work through your own sense of feeling inadequate, senses of feeling not whole or not supported or all that good stuff. And when you start to work through it, then you can then move towards having healthier communication. The second way is to start to communicate openly, right? Hopefully you are with a partner who is open to honest and open communication and genuinely accepts and listens to you, right? On both parties, right? So where both parties feel seen and heard. And so you can engage in honest and empathetic communication with your partner about your feelings and concerns, right? And when you do that, and when you're with a healthy individual is able to communicate openly, right? A lot of times, not to call people unhealthy, but a lot of times people are operating out of their shadow or out of their unhealthiness because one, either they have personality disorders that are unaddressed, or two, they just have a lot of shadow and trauma or unhealed wounds, inner childhood wounds, or not even just childhood wounds. It could be adult wounds as well that they haven't healed, right? So communicating openly about what's going on for you, when this happened, it really triggered me and I just want to take responsibility. Sorry if there's lag, but I just want to take responsibility for how I've been feeling lately or how I've been acting. I know it's really out of character for me, but in general, I've been feeling the way that I've been feeling because, XYZ, right? Going back to, I've been feeling very inadequate, or like I couldn't really, going to the denial of positive qualities, like I haven't really been stepping up at work, and so I've been sort of projecting my own crap onto you, right? Being able to own your crap, being able to own when you're wrong, my ladies and my men, right? Like when you're wrong, can you, when you've really progressed in as a human being, when you can say that you're wrong, right? When you can openly say, you know what, I was wrong. And that's okay. That means that you are not operating from your ego, from a spiritual standpoint, right? You're not operating from your lower self, right? Your lower three chakras aren't ruling your life. You're not operating from the little you. You're starting to operate from your higher self because you're you recognize that, oh yeah, I am fallible, right? I do make mistakes, right? And so when you can start to openly and honestly communicate that with each other and not feel like you're less of a person because you made a mistake, then you can start to see the real benefits of shadow work, and you can move on with healthier, loving, kind relationships. The most beautiful relationships, guys, that I can remember just having, and that I even have till to this day, is when you can really truly be honest with each other about your mistakes and own your shadow, right? It's the most beautiful kind of blossoming relationships, and it's the most fulfilling, right? A lot of times in our society, we're so, concerned about money and concerned about all these external things, but one of the most beautiful things that you can create in your life is whole, beautiful, blossoming relationships. And the only way that you can start to create those is by dealing with your shadow, dealing with your core wounds, and being able to own your shit, own your crap, right? And so that's really the second piece of starting to end this sort of projection, psychological projections that might happen a lot of times in relationships, right? And then the second one is seeking professional help, right? Considering therapy, counseling, or coaching to explore underlying issues and developing healthier coping mechanisms. One of the benefits of having a coach, one of the benefits of having a therapist or a counselor or whatever, one of those three, is that you can be able to have a sounding board. A lot of times, let's say that you are single right now and you're in between a relationship and you're looking to get into a healthier relationship, or you have old inner wounds that you haven't really dealt with and you don't really know the best way to go about doing that. Hiring and or working with a therapist or a coach or a counselor can help you really transition and move into actually applying this stuff to your life. So no longer are you just watching videos or reading things for the fun of it, but you're doing the work and you're starting to integrate this into your life. You're doing the practices to start to change your life. You can't just watch a video and expect that your life is going to change. You actually have to get in, dive deep, and do the work, right? And so that's the power of therapy, coaching, or counseling, right? And then the fourth tip in addressing projection in relationships is practicing self-awareness. So self-reflection is recognizing and acknowledging your own feelings and insecurity, but practicing self-awareness is about continuously working on your self-awareness so that you can identify when projection might be occurring and take steps to address it right then and there and in a constructive manner. So you're no longer moving from this sort of limited place. Like, you can start to see, instead of reacting, you're responding to life, and you can start to address life events as they occur from a place of self-awareness and deep sense of true knowing of who you are. And so when you're moving from this deep sense of who you truly are, you're no longer reacting or moving from this place of reactionary, living, but you're moving from this place of empowerment, and you're moving from this place of vast awareness of who you truly are and vast awareness of your shortcomings, right? When you really do this shadow work, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that, because going back to the example of the girl whose father wasn't there for her. Yeah, this is sort of a reoccurring pattern for me. Doing my shadow work and recognizing that I felt abandoned or I felt betrayed or I'm recognizing that instead of reacting from this place of projecting that onto my partner, I can do this healing work, because that I can notate that that's a trigger when they say this, or when they do this, or when they don't do this, or when they don't show up for me in this way, or they're not open-minded in this way, or blah, 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 blah. It's a trigger for me, and it makes me, but it causes me to move from my shadow versus doing that deeper inner healing work, right? So I hope this is making sense. Okay, let's talk about strategies to address and manage projections and triggers, right? So first one is mindfulness practices. So one powerful way to manage projections and triggers is through mindfulness. And mindfulness is just being present, being aware, being in this present moment, right? So by staying present and aware of our thoughts and emotions, we can recognize when we're projecting our issues onto others, right? So techniques like meditation, deep breathing, body scans can help cultivate this awareness, right? So go ahead and try this with me now. If you're watching the replay or if you're joining me live, just feel free to take a moment and breathe in. Breathe in. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're just going to do a small little exercise to show you how you can start to develop more mindfulness in this present moment. Breathe in through your nose 2 more times and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And with your eyes closed, I want to invite you to just see how you're feeling in this moment. In your mind, in your body, what is coming up for you, right? Not to let your mind to start going off on a tangent, but just notice in this moment, how are you feeling? Are you feeling agitated? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling peaceful? Are you feeling calm? What has contributed to that sense of calmness? What has contributed to that sense of feeling overwhelmed? What is feeling? Are you feeling tension? Are you feeling, unease? Are you feeling teary-eyed? What are you feeling in this moment? Just take a moment to breathe in and breathe out. And notice how you're feeling in this moment. Just give yourself a few moments of silence to just sort of scan your body, and more so scan your emotions and your mental faculties, your mind and your emotions. What are you feeling? What are you thinking in this moment? And what is contributing to that, whether negative or positive? Just breathing in and breathing out. For me, like in this moment, I'm feeling a little bit frantic, only because I've been, getting everything together to make sure I could come live. So it's what's contributing that is wanting this desire to want to make sure that the information that I'm presenting to you is accurate and from my heart and soul, and in a way that can be beneficial. So for me, that's what's going on for me right now, right? Can you identify whatever is going on in your life, how you're feeling in this moment? Right? And what is contributing to that? And the powerful thing of mindfulness is that when you start to bring your breath and your attention and your awareness into your body, into your mind, into your emotions, your awareness of these things, then you can start to introduce this other aspect of calmness into your life, and this spaciousness that allows these other aspects of you to exist, right? So breathing in again, and through your nose, and out through your mouth. And for me, just doing that just moves me into a place of serious serenity and peace. But just doing that, taking a second to breathe and check in with how you feel, is essentially what mindfulness is. But mindfulness is just really the practice of bringing your attention and your awareness into this present moment. You don't necessarily always have to stop and breathe like that. You could be mindful washing the dishes. You can be, present moment awareness as you're folding the clothes, or, eating your dinner, or being with a partner, right? Being present and being aware of your environment, aware of your own energy, aware of where you are. That is what mindfulness really is, okay? The other one is an open communication, like we talked before. And this is about open and honest communication being key, right? So when we feel triggered, it's important to express our feelings without blaming others. Using I statements such as, I feel upset when you, not you did this to me, right? Like, it's your fault that this happened. Or, anytime you start youing, then you're not taking responsibility of your own energy. You're not taking responsibility of your own reactions and emotions and projections, right? So using I statements like, I feel upset when fill in the blank, right? I feel upset when you say things to me like XYZ. I feel upset when you don't, XYZ. I feel upset, right? I feel fill in the blank. I feel unheard. I feel blank. I feel. Using I statements can help convey your emotions without making the other person feel attacked, right? And by doing that, and each person doing that in the communication, it helps each person to realize that, oh, we're two whole beings, right? We're two whole beings coming together in a union, right? But when one person is attacking the other person, then there's really no union. There's only sort of discord, right? But when both people can say, I feel, I notice that I react, right? You can say, I feel, I react, blah, blah, blah. Then both people are now operating out of their divinity versus the shadowed aspect of themselves, right? So open communication and using I statements is a really helpful way to start to communicate more openly, to express how you feel, to express what's going on within you so that you can feel more whole, feel more love, feel more, in tune with your true self, right? And so the other way is to practice empathy exercises. So empathy exercises can also be very beneficial. So like, try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand their perspective. This usually only works when you're not moving from a place of feeling triggered, right? When you're calm, in tune, at peace, and feeling enough spaciousness within you to hold space for someone else, right? So this can help reduce intensity of your reactions and promote a more compassionate response, right? So if you think about empathy, being able to sit in someone else's shoes, I can't remember who said this. I want to say it was the lady who wrote Vulnerability or something. God, her name escapes me. She's a famous writer. But anyways, this concept, if I can remember her name, Brene Brown, I think I got this from her. Don't quote me. But I think she was sharing this idea of when you don't feel at capacity. Let's say we all have like 100 capacity of when we're at fully charged, right? Like, let's say we're batteries, right? And when we're fully charged, meaning our mental, emotional, and physical bodies are all in alignment. We feel on top of the world, or we just feel genuinely in a state of well-being, peace, and ease, right? And that's at 100%. But let's say you're operating on 20%, right? If you can start to communicate with your partner where you're at, saying, I'm really operating at about 20 or 15%. I really don't have the spaciousness to really hear you, but I really want to hear what you have to say because I value and I love you, and I want to be able to hold space for what you're feeling. So if we can circle back to this like tomorrow, or after I've taken a bath, or after I've slept a little, or after I've gone and meditated or taken a nature walk, then I feel like I'll at least be at 50 to 60% and I'll be more open to listening to you. That's another kind of technique that you can do with your partners, and just being honest and open about where you're at, right? Because you really can't be empathic or empathetic with someone when you're operating at a low energy. And this has everything to do with the food that we're eating, whether you're getting enough sleep, whether or not, you're doing your self-care practices, whether or not you're tuning into your higher self. Like, all those other things contribute to you operating at 100%, right? And so we're always different levels each day due to different circumstances and various things, different things pulling on our energy. So our battery gets depleted here. You got to do this for your child. Your battery gets depleted here. You got to go to work and do a big presentation. Your battery gets depleted over here. So recognizing that each day we operate at different levels, and being able to openly and honestly communicate that with your partner allows you to then move from a more empathetic state, because then you'll be able to gauge within yourself whether or not you're able to be an open space for your partner, or whether or not you're able to have that healthy communication. I think one of the worst things that happens in relationships is that we're not open and honest with where we are. And so there's this sort of unspoken expectation that your partner needs to be on for you all the time, not recognizing that they are human, that we each have our own set of circumstances and life events that plays out. And so when we're not in communion with who we truly are, when we're not tuned in with recognizing or self-aware of where our energy is, then we can't really hold space for not only ourselves and our own dark, or our own dense emotions and shadow aspects of ourselves, but there's no way that we can have the ability to be empathetic towards someone else and see their point of view, or even hold space for them to share their point of view when we're trying to understand them, right? So that's just a little quick tip to help you to be able to start to communicate and have healthier relationships, right? Another exercise is to journal, right? Writing down your thoughts and feelings can be a great way to process your emotions and identify patterns in your behavior. Journaling can also help you uncover hidden triggers, right? And understand your projections better. So like I shared with you in last week's topic about identifying your trigger and probably starting to keep a trigger journal, noticing when you feel triggered, especially if this is something that recurs for you all the time. If you feel like you're triggered all the time, you feel like you're angry all the time, that you're in a denser frequency all the time where you're not at peace or above, where you're not at love or above, where you're not at a place of acceptance or above in terms of energetic, emotional frequencies, right? If you notice that within yourself, can you ask yourself, start keeping a journal of how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis? Just increasing that self-awareness really increases your ability to have healthier relationships. If you're not whole and complete and in tune with yourself, there is no way, I want to emphasize this, you guys, there is no way that you can do that for other people, right? So you have to be able to be willing to become self-aware, become aware of your shortcomings, become aware of your, fallibility, become aware of your shadow, of your core wounds, of your traumas, and do this deep inner work so that you can then be able to hold space for your loved one, whether that be your children, whether that be your coworker, your best friend, your mama, your dad, your lover, your husband, your spouse, your wife, whatever, right? So it all starts with self, right? Everything is all about know thyself. When you know thyself, then you can be able to make space for other people, right? So journaling is one of the key tools that you can do to start to increase your sense of self-awareness. And then the last one is therapy and coaching, and I already kind of talked about that, but sometimes having that professional help is really needed to work through deeper issues, right? Doing it all alone isn't necessary, especially in the time that we live in. You don't have to do things all alone. Getting that extra help and support really can make a difference and actually accelerate you a lot faster than if you were to do it alone, because you don't know what you can't see. You don't know what's not there. So a therapist or a coach can provide guidance and tools to help you navigate your shadow work and improve your relationships. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you can't see. And so having that outside party, right, can really help move you into a space of wholeness and well-being in your relationships, with your relationship with yourself and your relationships with others, right? So I'll just go ahead and do a plug here. If that is something that you're interested in, then go ahead and check out our my alignment sessions, where I'm doing alignment sessions. I'll put the link in the description box below, as well as if you're looking to work with me in a deeper way. I'm not sure how long I'm going to offer these for free, but my this is just sort of an introductory call, discovery, breakthrough call to see if working with me in a deeper way works with you. And that's the second link, divineearthschool.com/call or divineearthschool.com/align. Okay, so if that is something that you're looking for, more support, then definitely visit me there. And then I just wanted to leave you guys with a few resources and stuff like that will help you. And this quote I really love by Viktor Frankl. If you've never read his book, name of the book is totally escaping me. I'll add it to the link below. But I added some books and resources on this topic if you want to dive deeper. But between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. I want to repeat that. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space, our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. One of the reasons why I love this quote so much is because when you think about stimulus and response, a lot of times we're not responding, we're reacting. And so when you think of there's this stimuli, there's this outward environment happening, the situation occurring, and here's my response. I have the ability to respond. Responsibility is the ability to respond, right? And so your ability to respond is really what helps you to grow and move into that sense of freedom and peace and ease, right? And so some resources, I put these links in the description box below, are one of the books that you can read about just power of self-awareness that really helped me when I was in my late teens, was The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle. And this book really emphasizes mindfulness and living in the present moment, which is essential for managing triggers and projections, and it also helps you become aware of what Eckhart Tolle calls your ego or your lower self, like I learned in Kemetic yoga, but just becoming aware of these different aspects of yourself, right? Nonviolent Communication, A Language of Life by Marshall B. Rosenberg. And this book really teaches the principles and techniques for compassionate communication, which can really help in addressing projections and improving relationships. Once again, these links are in the description box below. And then the last two books is The Dance of Connection, How to Talk to Someone When You're Mad, Hurt, Scared, Frustrated, Insulted, Betrayed, or Desperate by Harriet Lerner. And I already gave you some examples of how you can start to talk to people when you're feeling triggered, like I feel, or, I noticed, or I react, right? Using I statements versus you statements, right? And then she offers more practical strategies as well. And then The Four Agreements, which is a practical guide to personal freedom by Don Miguel Ruiz. So this is not specifically about projections, but it's a book that offers wisdom on like personal growth and creating healthier relationships based on principles such as being impeccable with your word and not taking things personally, right? Learning to transcend sort of the lower self, right? And then if you're joining me for the first time in this series, welcome to Divine Earth School. My name is Rachel Alexander. I'm an artist, mosaic soul mentor, here helping those of you who are ready to dive deeper into your spirituality and your personal growth and development to live the life that is according to your soul's calling. And in this series, I'm doing the shadow work series where we're diving into our shadows so that we can start to heal, uncover these hidden aspects of ourselves so that we can start operating from our wholeness. And so if you want to check out the first video in the series on the importance of shadow work and its origin and why it matters, that's here on this channel. I'm going to add this video to the playlist as well. And then last week we did a video on uncovering your shadow and how to identify your own triggers and shadow in last week's video, right? So that is it. I noticed that my chat is kind of off and on right now, so I don't think anyone will ask any questions. But if you are still joining me live, feel free to pop in any questions, and hopefully this resonated below, or ask your questions below if you're watching the replay. So I hope this video has been helpful. I'll stay on here another 30 seconds or so to give you guys a chance to type if anyone is still joining me live. I know this has been very choppy, but hopefully you guys got something out of it. And I will upload a more less choppier version after. Okay, cool. So I see there are no questions at this moment. If you're looking for more support, definitely visit me at divineearthschool.com/align to book your alignment session to get the support that you need. This is a one-on-one session. If you are looking for a deeper dive to work into a specific container of work where we're working with each other for, a few months at a time, then book a call at complimentary breakthrough call to see if we're a good fit at divineearthschool.com/call. And remember to always flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't, because you are divine. You are a divine being, and your soul knows exactly what you've come to explore and experience while on this planet. So remember, what you conceive is what you'll receive. What you expect is what you'll get. And however you feel is what will become real for you. So vibrate higher, and I will chat with you guys next week at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward to bringing you more on this topic of shadow work. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Peace, love, and light.